I'm going to talk about another old TV show today. This is The Newsroom, which aired from 2012 to 2014. At the time it was on the air, it was not necessarily much beloved, but it was certainly much discussed. People had a lot of opinions about this show, people liked talking about it. I feel like since it's gone off the air, people have completely forgotten about it, which is perhaps understandable. It was a very topical show that didn't age well because it was so tied to the issues of its day. But, excuse me, let me know what you think, as always. Do you remember this show? Did you like this show? Is it still watchable now? How has it aged? Etc. So this show was by Aaron Sorkin, who I've talked about a few times on this channel before, mostly in my movie reviews. I've reviewed his movies, Charlie Wilson's War, The Social Network, and Trial of the Chicago 7. And I'll try to remember to leave a link to my reviews of those movies in the description down below. But I think he's most famous for his television work. In particular, the show that I think is most associated with his name is The West Wing, which aired from the late 90s to the mid-2000s. And I've got a confession to make. I never watched The West Wing. I tried to get into it. I couldn't. I think part of the reason I had difficulty getting into it is because I was trying to get into it after the fact. And I think that The West Wing was another show which was very much of its time, a cultural zeitgeist, which makes it a little bit difficult to get into years later. Although, again, let me know what your experience was. But The West Wing developed Aaron Sorkin's reputation as a writer of dialogue. So he's able to give characters a lot of very quippy dialogue that goes back and forth at a fast pace, which delivers a lot of information to the viewers in a way that is entertaining because of the way it bounces back and forth between characters, and which forces the viewer to pay attention, but in a good way, a show that rewards paying close attention to it. After The West Wing, Aaron Sorkin had mixed success with his other shows. He had another show called Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, which was his version. It was somewhat like 30 Rock, in that it was a show within a show. So the show was all about producing this TV show, and the TV show was clearly an analog to Saturday Night Live. At the time when Saturday Night Live was at the height of its cultural influence. Now, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip did not do well with critics, but I actually watched this one. It's not hard to watch because it's only one season long. It got canceled early on. And I bought the DVD pack when I was in Cambodia. And for all its faults, I thought that Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip was incredibly watchable. It was entertaining. Now, you can totally see where the critics hated this show. It's a little bit too smug. The show thinks it's much more important than it is. It's very cheesy. And, it's all of that, but it's watchable. You press play, the episode will hold your attention until the end of it. At least that's my opinion. Again, let me know what you thought of it. The Newsroom was a bit better received than Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. But it was also a show that, especially in its first season, got a lot of critical drubbing for being smug and arrogant and cheesy. And it totally was all of those things. It was smug and arrogant and cheesy, and yet it was really watchable. So the premise behind this show is that it's a news show. And it's a news show, it's a news show that's reporting on real events. But, because it's also a scripted show that has actors and rehearsed and shot, the real events it's reporting on happened 2 years before the show aired. So it's now the time the show aired, that all these events were still fresh in memory because they were only 2 years old. But the show makes use of hindsight so that the characters in the show are able to avoid all the mistakes that the media made 2 years ago. So all the characters in the show are much smarter than what the media is reporting, because they actually know, well, they don't actually know, but the writer Aaron Sorkin knows how these events are going to play out. So he gives his characters the benefit of that hindsight to have them say, well, all the other news stations are reporting this, but we just can't be sure. We have to check this one more time. I've got a feeling it's different. And then it turns out that they are right and all the other news stations are wrong because, of course, Aaron Sorkin is writing this with 20/20 hindsight. And that gets pretty, I was going to say annoying. And it is annoying to a certain extent. But it's watchable. It gets, you're rolling your eyes at it. You're saying, oh, okay, this is such a cheap shot, and this is so easy to do with this hindsight, and these characters all think they're smarter than they really are. But the show is watchable. And, that Aaron Sorkin dialogue holds up. It's very fast-paced, it's very back and forth, very quippy, and there are all these cheesy relationship drama in the show, all these, love triangles and romances and stuff like that, and it's just, objectively, all of it is terrible. And yet, because of Aaron Sorkin's sense of pacing, because his sense of keeping the dialogue moving at a fast clip, the show never drags, at least in my opinion. It's watchable all the way through. As well as if you're a political junkie, like I am, then the show has tons of commentary on the political situation at the time. And of course, it's all done with 20/20 hindsight. But there is some entertaining political takedowns. Most of it is of the Republican Party, because Aaron Sorkin is a Democrat. And it's interesting rewatching it now. I was rewatching some clips on YouTube this past week. And it's all these names of demagogues that used to be so familiar and now are completely forgotten. Like Michelle Bachmann, right? You remember Michelle Bachmann? She used to be in the news all the time, and she was just this extremist Republican and one of these people who used to drive you crazy with all the stupid things that they would say. She's left politics, at least on a national level, and you never hear about her nowadays, and you completely forget about her. Or Rick Santorum, or all those guys on the Republican side, most of them. It's just I guess a lesson on how quickly these politicians get forgotten once they step off the national stage. Now, Aaron Sorkin, being maybe more of a establishment type Democrat, also goes after the left. So the Occupy Wall Street movement comes in for a bit of a drubbing at his hands. in my opinion, somewhat unfairly. I think there are some straw men being presented there, but maybe that's just my leftist bias. I like it when he goes after the right. I get defensive when he goes after the left. That could be just me. The other thing I really should mention is the cast is great, and in addition to Sorkin's dialogue and sense of pacing helping to save what would otherwise be really cheesy plot lines, the fact that the cast is just selling this dialogue and willing to get into it. And it's got a fair amount of well-known people on the cast. Jeff Daniels plays the lead. The guy from Slumdog Millionaire, Dev Patel, is in it. Olivia Munn is in it. Sam Waterston from Law and Order. Jane Fonda has a supporting role. A lot of good actors who are enthusiastic about their parts and are able to really sell the dialogue. And I was watching an interview with Jeff Daniels when he talked about the dialogue, and he said, everybody in this show, at least all the main cast, had a theater background. And so that helped them. They knew how to do Sorkin dialogue. They came to the set every day with their lines completely memorized. And he said they would rehearse it once at slow speed, and then they rehearse it a second time at a faster speed. So by the time you actually saw the final take, they're able to trade back those quips back and forth with each other at a very high speed, which makes the show entertaining. So yeah, I think the show is flawed, but incredibly watchable. And let me know what your opinion is of it. Thank you.